GM. This is Sanket from Quill Academy, and today we are here with Gabriel, where we are going to discuss his journey from getting from Web 2.5, I think, to Web 3. He has 10 years of experience, but I think it will be better to hear from him what his experience says. So, Gabriel would love to get a quick introduction from you.
Awesome. Hi, Sanket, and first of all, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm Gabriel, and prior to I'm a full-time auditor now, independent auditor. But prior to that, prior to getting into Web3, I was a Web2 dev for around 10 years. My last job, I was doing basically back-end engineering, and for a company where we were indexing data from blockchains.
Hmm.
Mostly EVM blockchains, but we were also working with a few non-EVM blockchains like Solana and Starknet. So yeah, and then I shifted to Web3 because I was interested in DeFi. In DeFi development, I wanted to write smart contracts. I thought DeFi was really promising, and somehow between that time and now, I decided I'll shift into auditing, and that was like at the start of sometime in January, because I thought, okay, why not try this? I read like seeing Christoph Michel's blog on like how to become a smart contract auditor. I think everyone read that, and also like I watched videos from Andy Lee, and yeah, and because of that, like I thought, okay, let's try this out, and yeah, and so far it worked out. Like I think if you've seen like my first month getting into auditing, my first audit, I didn't do so great, but then I've had wins, I think. So here we are.
So, from what I understood, you were sort of building or developing on a Web 2 stack in your previous job, right? So, how
Yes,
was
that's right.
or sort of what instigated that transition from that Web 2 stack to the Web 3 stack in particular? Did you find the language more interesting? Were the problems more interesting to solve? What was that particular one thing that sort of pushed you towards Web 3?
Well, I like the idea of decentralized apps, and I thought it was promising. I thought it would be great to develop my own DApp eventually, and that was the initial motivation at least. And yeah, so that was mainly it. And I thought EVM as a platform was very like interesting. So yeah, that's it.
So initially you thought that you would make a DApp and then you got into smart contract security. So how does that come into picture? Because building a DApp obviously has its own security components and you obviously know the stack for development as well. So is that still in somewhere in your roadmap in life to just make a DApp of your own or a DeFi DApp or something? Or
Yeah,
security is like full on now?
well, maybe that's not completely a closed chapter, I mean, maybe eventually I'll look into that, but for now, I'm like fully focused in security. I feel like security is, you know, I need to give it my all for it to actually pay off, I feel, and it's really fun for me. I think it's worth. I really enjoy, um, looking for logs.
Yes, so coming back to your very initial journey into Web3, we have a lot of responses on our blog that we write for new developers. And one of the primary or the key concerns for developers include finding jobs as soon as they get into Web3. So how was your experience with finding jobs? Because we have a lot of hiring portals in Web3. Do any of them actually help?
Um, so the question is like, for beginners, like how easy is it to find jobs? Is that the question,
Yeah, and
or?
and I mean, did you face any problems personally by yourself to find jobs into Web3 when you first came on and learned the stack?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, that's one of the, like when I decided to shift into Web3, I had difficulty getting jobs. I've been sending out applications. I thought my background as a Web2 dev would really help. But I guess it was wrong timing. I don't know, bear market and like a lot of layoffs in the tech industry in general. I'm not entirely sure what it was, but it didn't really, I, not many were biting. There were some responses, but in the end, I didn't get any. So I decided it's probably best to build my portfolio in some way. And I thought I'd like to build my portfolio while making some money at the same time. So that's why I got into like hackathons and grants. So
Interesting. So as a developer who's just into Web3 and he's looking, he's looking at the ecosystem and he's trying to find jobs I mean, he's having the same problems as you had, and he's unable to get any responses from companies. So what would your suggestion be to very new developers in the ecosystem? What can they do to build their portfolio and to apply for more jobs and applications?
yeah, I think it's important to um yeah, well, I think it's first of all important to focus on your own portfolio. How I did it was I I built I chose I participated in a hackathon first, and of course I tried to give it my all and all that. I participated in the Reserve Protocol hackathon, and I think that was a great one. It's I'm interested in DeFi, and Reserve Protocol is a stablecoin system, and so it was first of all it was interesting to me, and I thought that if I did well there, that's a good addition to my portfolio. And the good thing with that hackathon was that we were writing collateral plugins. So these collateral plugins are for Reserve to be able to use different protocols, different tokens as collateral. So like we could use Compound 3 or Compound V2 or Uniswap V2 and all that as collateral within the Reserve protocol. So I thought that was really good exposure because at least I could, you know, if I win bounties, then I made some money at the same.
Am I audible?
Okay. Yeah, I could. Could you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, so I mean, you were talking about the importance of building your own portfolio and participating in hackathons. And you also talked about a Web3 grant. So could you perhaps, magnify or zoom into what that grant was and how that could be beneficial to new learners as well?
Yeah. Well, while I was participating in the hackathon in Reserve, I worked on a collateral plugin for Compound 3 because Compound released a new version of Compound. And I found that I needed to write a token wrapper just to work with the Compound 3 token, since the Compound 3 token is a rebasing token. So meaning it's the the balance is dynamic. It keeps changing. It keeps on increasing. And so it makes it difficult for protocols. Protocols normally are not designed to work with tokens that have free basing balances. So normally the thing to do is to write a token wrapper instead, so that in place of dynamic balance, you replace it um with a static balance, a balance that doesn't change. So you
Yeah.
just have like 1,000 tokens of this wrapper, and the the compound 3 token will just keep on increasing, and you just have this 1,000 that will just keep on increasing in terms of exchange rate, how much you can get for that 1,000 wrapper tokens. So we found that was a need, and after the hackathon,
Mm.
I noticed that Compound was about to launch a grant,
Mhm.
and when the hackathon ended, it was around December, holiday break, Christmas break, and by the time it was January, uh, Compound launched their new grants program, so I applied there so that so that Compound would have their own like official
Mm.
wrapper token, the Compound 3.
So, whenever you're new at something, right? So, I mean, even though you participate in competitions and you get better over a period of time, you constantly need to update or upgrade your skills. So, as a new developer with Solidity, in the blockchain ecosystem, I mean, building out your portfolio is one thing, but how did you upgrade your skills as a developer? To bring some more experience and to bring some more confidence in your skill set. So how did you sort of practice onto that?
Yeah, for zombies, I started with crypto zombies course just to get familiar with Solidity, and then from there I did some smart. I followed smart contract programmers on YouTube channel. He had a website where there are and what else? But yeah, there now the problem isn't really the number of resources, but there's so many resources out there now for Solidity. It's just about like structuring them and not getting yourself too overwhelmed with so much resources to consume all the resources that's out there. You just need to consume enough to learn enough Solidity so you could start writing software.
Got it.
So that's what I was trying to keep in mind.
That's very interesting. So, I mean, obviously now you've learned the development skills. You've also built out your portfolio and stuff, and now you start getting into auditing. So, how was that like? Transitioning from development to auditing. So, what was that journey, and how did you sort of get into it?
Okay. Yeah, the transition, how did I get into it? Well, I started thinking of I got exposed to smart contract security through Andy Lee's videos again, and I read the How to Become a Smart Contract Auditor by C. Miguel. And and I thought that was interesting, security. And of course, as a dev, as a DeFi dev, security is important, right? Like you cannot launch a dApp and expect it to be secure if you don't have that security mindset if you haven't really studied security. So I thought either way, if I got into security, if I got into audits, it would just make me a better developer, a better DeFi dev. So I thought, okay, I'll dive into this. I'll try auditing and see if I'm able to, do decently at this.
That's pretty interesting because we also get a lot of queries as to how can we get into smart contract auditing, and I mean obviously a lot of the queries are about the high pay scale around auditing and stuff. But a lot are about I mean a lot have genuine questions about what are the best resources, what is the roadmap like. So could you probably elucidate on your experiences to how exactly did you get into it? What was, I mean, if you were to build a roadmap to sort of just becoming a better smart contract auditor, what would be the steps for any experienced or sort of mid-level experienced Solidity developer to become an auditor?
Yeah. For a roadmap, I think first of all, hmm,
Maybe what did you do for this?
yeah. Well, for me, I forget entirely like the ordering, but
Of course, of course.
but it was roughly like I did two CTFs, right?
Right.
I didn't even finish like one. I did Ethernaut,
Yeah.
And I finished that, but that was even like there are updates to Ethernaut, so I haven't done the latest challenges.
Yeah.
And I did damn vulnerable DeFi
Yeah.
until like challenge 8. I didn't even finish that yet.
Yeah.
I'll probably get back into that. But I think you need to do CTFs are valuable, but I don't think you should spend all your time doing CTFs.
Yeah.
Um, but they're very, very useful in like, getting your, to get some reps in and to have some familiarity with how it is to hunt for bugs and how these vulnerabilities look like in the wild. Well, not really the wild, but like similar to how it looks in production.
Right.
And what else? After that, I read some audit reports just to have an idea of how a valid report looks like, and to have an idea of what are valid submissions, what vulnerabilities were valid, um, what else? And after that, but of course, like there's no replacement for actual audits.
Yeah.
Like if you wanna get into auditing, you wanna practice auditing, then audit
Mm.
because like if you are able to identify bugs, if you're able to do CTF successfully, then I
Mm.
think and you already have an idea how to write reports and you have an idea of what are valid bugs and you can identify like the different types of bugs, then I think you have enough to get started. And that's all and that's what you need. Like you just need to get your reps in and get used to audits to be actually good at audits. That's my opinion at least.
That's interesting. So this was your journey, but if you were to suggest anything, the ideal path for any new developer to follow, is there something that you would do now if you were starting again? If you were now a developer, and if you were to start again, is there something that you would do differently in terms of your learning process? Would you perhaps add another component? Because we see a lot of auditors, and maybe you might have also put the similar content on Twitter, and we see a lot of auditors putting roadmaps and stuff that you can do to become a better smart contract auditor. So if you were to start learning auditing from scratch again, would there be something that you would do different?
Mm, from scratch. Well, if I had to change it, I think it was mostly my transition was mostly smooth, I feel. Maybe because I've studied like DeFi beforehand, and like most of the audits that you're doing is for DeFi protocols. Like if you look at like if you want to start auditing, the easiest way is to start with audit contests, right, on Code Arena or Sherlock. And you'll find that majority of the protocols there are actually DeFi protocols. So well, if I had to restart, I guess I'd I'd focus more, and try to do less, but and start getting my hands dirty right away. Like because like I find the usual problem is that for people, especially those new to the space, is that they create a lot of obstacles for themselves before starting, like audits, and I think you're just delaying your learning that way. So if you can, yeah, try to start audits as soon as possible. And if the audit doesn't work out, that's when you will see that you'll be able to like few things. Yeah, sorry. Is was that it was lagging for a bit?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So well, where was I when it was lagging?
I think you were mentioning, you know, how you would directly get into audits and get your hands dirty.
Yeah. So yeah, my point being is that when you do audits and you and I guess you let's say you started too soon, then you would be better to able to identify like what it is you're lacking. Oh, I couldn't understand this piece of the code. I probably like lacked solidity knowledge or something. So I'm gonna focus more on solidity. So you get the feedback that you need to know exactly what it is you need to study, rather than trying to consume so much resources
Mm.
that you don't know which. Not all of those will be immediately relevant to your next audit, or
Right.
to you know that's just my view of it.
But I mean, I completely agree with what you're saying. But don't you think it's rather hard for somebody who's not had a lot of experience to get private audits? So what's the alternative there, or what did you do when you also had to get into audits?
I'm sorry. The question is how.
The question is, I mean, you can't get any private audits without prior experience from any good protocol, or at least that's what I'm assuming. So, what's
Ah,
the alternatives to, get your hands dirty into auditing right away?
so the question was more about how to get private audits as a beginner.
Yeah,
Okay. I think I answered a different question entirely earlier. But yeah, as a beginner to get private audits, and I'm not entirely sure how the others do it.
yeah.
Um, but in my, at least based on my experience, what helped was of course my performance in Code Arena, because like my first two Code Arena payouts, I got top two in my first payout, and it was a decent payout, the spot coin contest, and then the second payout I got from Code Arena was top five, and that
Mm.
was with Ethos Reserve, and
Yeah.
and and I guess I had an active Twitter account, and I shared my achievements, so I guess that helped to get some exposure, and from there, actually, I saw some guy on Twitter, like um one of the CTOs of a protocol, a
Mm.
yield protocol, and he posted, he's looking for auditors. So I
Mm.
guess you could there are, although this is rare, but sometimes some of them actually post like opportunities on Twitter. So I applied for that, and I could have that could have been my first audit, but then I was busy during the when like that was supposed to be sometime April,
Yeah.
and I couldn't commit time into that, so
Mm.
I didn't do that. But eventually, I got offered by Trust to join his team,
Mm.
Trust Security, and
Yeah.
that's where I got my first private audit. So I guess what helps is if you build some credibility, right?
Mm.
You need to build some credibility to show that you're actually competent as an auditor. Because like, how would you get audits if you haven't really shown that yet? That's just my view. But, yeah.
Thanks. So, could you elaborate on what code for Arena and Sherlock is for most people who are watching?
Yeah, yeah, Code Arena and Sherlock, they are audit contest platforms, and anyone could join. There are no filters. Like you don't need to apply or anything. Just create an account, and once you create an account, you have a wallet. You sign something in their website, and you could start joining any audit contest that's currently active, and that's basically it. And as an auditor, you join a contest, you audit the code, and if you find any issues, you submit these findings.
Mm.
And by the time the contest ends, by the time by the time the contest ends, of course you couldn't submit any more findings, but then there's going to be a judging phase,
Yeah.
and once they're done judging all the issues, they will publish the results, and
Got it.
you get payouts for that. So
It's
yeah, you could
interesting.
get rewards. So
I think
that's basically it.
Another thing that you had mentioned on your social media were your bug bounty accomplishments. Could you elaborate more onto what a bug bounty is? How did you get into it? And what are the benefits of doing it?
Uh, Wait, bug bounties like Immunify or
Yeah.
like Coding?
I mean,
Oh, okay. Actually, I haven't found any bug bounties yet on Immunify. I'm not active on Immunify, but I
okay.
did get bounties
I think
from
it's lagging a bit.
hackathons, and yeah. Oh, sorry. Better now?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So about bug bounties, I'm not active on Immunify yet, although
Yeah.
that's something I'm looking into. I've been doing bounties like from hackathons, but beyond that, none yet in Immunify. Although that's definitely in
Got it.
my in my plans.
One important question that we get a lot is, I mean, a solo audit versus a team audit.
Mm.
What are your thoughts on a solo audit and a team audit? How do you feel is the best way to go about it?
Yeah, well, as an auditor, I feel that I think the best audit is a team audit.
Hmm.
That's just my personal opinion. I mean, because because it's more likely that you have better coverage of like findings of yeah. There's yeah. Let me rephrase that. So it's likely that you'll get better coverage on like bug findings as a team of at least two people, but compared to just one auditor. Like we've seen like in Code Arena or in Sherlock, like normally the top competitor doesn't even get all the findings there
Yeah.
are in the right. So what more as a solo auditor in a private audit where you're not even competing with others? There's very likely that you'd miss a number of bugs. And of course, that's not what we like, right? That's not the results that we want. So, yeah, so I feel that as a team of at least two, where you're both collaborating and, really doing your best, and I think you get through a code base faster when two auditors collaborate and you have better coverage. But yeah, but of course, like as a protocol, as a dev team, the best audit is the audit that you can afford. So better to have a solo audit than no audit.
Yeah, makes sense. I think we're down to a final question. And for this last question, I would like to ask you, what are some of the most exciting challenges that you've come across in your smart contract auditing journey in the past few months that you've been auditing contracts with trust, other auditors, and everything? What are some of the challenges that you have come across?
Exciting challenges.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or maybe some exciting vulnerability you found, or some problem you found working with the protocol. Any exciting anecdote of a challenge you found in your journey, we would love to know.
Yeah, so far the most exciting to me was the first solo high founding I got, and that was that was from my first payout. I got like a solo high finding on audit contest on in Code Arena, and and it just felt awesome because I mean I didn't really expect to get the solo high, right?
Yeah,
Others get a solo high like months later, or I
yeah,
don't know when, but so to get it for my first payout, that was awesome.
yeah,
And Yeah, that was like I'm not sure if I could share details about the finding because the report isn't
Please
out
do.
yet.
You can, I think. That's okay. It's
Oh
obviously
yeah.
public on the platform as well.
Oh, okay. So let me think about. So basically, Popcorn is a permissionless protocol,
Yep.
and so anyone could launch their own vault,
Hmm.
and they could also attach a rewards contract to that vault, a
Hmm.
staking contract to that vault, and basically the solo high was uh, I don't remember the exact details or the steps on how to do the actual attack,
Yep.
but but the exploit is that I'm able to deploy a vault
Hmm.
and get access to any staking contract that's been deployed previously,
Hmm.
use that as the staking contract to my vault, and steal all the rewards tokens in that staking contract.
Got it.
So yeah, so that was like a really like a critical vulnerability, right? If that was on like in Unify,
Got it.
but yeah, that was great, and to for it to be a solo, I think that was
Yeah,
even more awesome.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That is pretty exciting to listen to, and we do hope you do many more solo highs. But for now, this was the last question, and I would like to thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I had a really great time talking to you, and obviously, you sharing your wisdom and knowledge with all of our viewers. It was absolutely wonderful to have you with us, and we do hope to continue having such informational sessions with you in the future as well. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you to so much, Sanket, for this opportunity, and it was fun to talk to you and be able to share my experience and my journey. I hope viewers are able to find this helpful.
I'm
And
sure.
yeah, to more
Thank you.
future sessions.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'll see you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.